It's your boy Joshua Edwards live from Brooklyn, New York. This is Panthers Pride Television. As you guys know, NFL free agency kicked off yesterday, and there were some power moves. I'm going to get to that in a split second, but you know I got to do my NFL key date. So like I said, yesterday kicked off NFL free agency. Guys actually cannot sign their contract until Wednesday at the new NFL calendar season. April 21st is the off-season workouts. April 24th through the 26th is NFL draft day. And you already know those other dates above March 10th have already passed. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So yesterday, we had a market blunder with the Carolina Panthers, man. There was a guy that I have been talking about for episodes week in and week out. He has been my guy that we would sign. He has been linked with the Carolina Panthers since the Super Bowl ended, and his name is Milton Williams. Milton Williams was the unsung hero in Philadelphia. I understand he was paired with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, but he was no slouch. He was a guy that when he was out there, he was producing. You saw him in the Super Bowl have a strip sack on Patrick Mahomes, and he was just wreaking havoc game in and game out throughout the entirety of the whole NFL playoffs. Now, the thing with Milton Williams, he was just too pricey. Let's just call it for what it is. Now, the market blunder, we officially agreed on contract terms. We were going to sign him. I've been saying he was the number one guy on our draft board. I mean, not on our draft board, but in free agency. I said he was going to be the guy that was going to be paired with Derrick Brown and going to cause havoc for quarterbacks. But he was just out of our budget. He reportedly signed or is going to sign a 4-year, $104 million contract, 60 fully guaranteed, $26 million per year. I'm going to repeat that. 4 years, $104 million contract, 60 fully guaranteed, $26 million per year. That is only below Chris Jones. He's only below Chris Jones and Christian Wilkins. He is that, I'm not going to say he is that good. Let's just call it for what it is. He is that good. He commands top dollar money, and that's what's happening in free agency. If you do not pull out your wallet, your pocketbook, your bank account, the checkbook, whatever you want to say, if you are not willing to put your pen to paper when it comes to these dollars in free agency, you're not going to sign guys like Milton Williams. Now, I'm going to get to a guy that we ultimately signed later on, but this dude right here is definitely an unsung hero in Philly. 17 games played this past season, 7 total tackles for losses, 24 total tackles, 10 QB hits, 5 sacks. Now, yeah, there was no way that we was going to be able to pay this. I'm sorry. Just for where we're at currently speaking cap-wise, he would have taken up all of our salary cap for this offseason. We just signed another guy that I'm going to talk about later on. It was just too much. It was too rich for our blood. 4 years, $104 million. He went to the New England Patriots, $60 million fully guaranteed. And you see them paying guys. They paid Carlton Davis, Robert Spillane. They are out here actually spending money. And that was just a situation where I'm not mad at David Tepper. I'm not mad at Dan Morgan because this right here was out of pocket. He's a good guy, but I don't know if he's worth $104 million. Is he better than Christian Wilkins? Probably not. He's obviously not better than Christian Jones, but yeah, let's go ahead and just transition. So with that even being said, we re-signed J.C. Horn to a 4-year, $100 million contract right now. So we have actually made him the highest paid corner. When we signed him, he was actually the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Highest paid corner in NFL history, currently speaking. Played 15 games this past season, 5 tackles for losses, 13 pass breakups, 53 total tackles, 1 interception. But that the stats doesn't really indicate what he means to the Carolina Panthers. I'm glad that we re-signed him. I was on the record saying I don't know if we should pay him top dollar money. Just from a technical standpoint, if we're just talking the numbers and if we're just talking game tape, I understand this past season he was arguably the best corner coverage-wise. But if we're just talking about longevity, he's not better than the Denzel Ward. He's not better than the Jalen Ramsey. He's not better than the Patrick Surtain. I'm not mad that he got his bucks. I'm glad that we went out here and we decided to pay the man. I just need him to continue to stay healthy. He's an all-pro type of caliber guy, a Pro Bowl type of guy. I just need you to stay healthy, JC. Now, this was a guy that we ended up signing to replace Milton Williams, Tershawn Wharton. He is a game-changing defensive tackle. He was paired up with Chris Jones, who I believe is the best defensive tackle in football. Played 17 games this past season, 11 QB hits, 7 tackles for losses, 29 total tackles, 6.5 sacks. I have told you when it comes to the defensive tackle position, I'm not expecting my defensive tackle to have 12-plus sacks. If you have 20-plus sacks, you are a future first ballot Hall of Fame. You're in the Aaron Donalds. You're in the Warren Sapp caliber type of guy. We signed him to a 3 years, $54 million contract. You think that we was going to go out here and pay $104 million when there's other guys that are just as capable who produce just as much as a Milton Williams to say? No, there was no way that we were signing Milton Williams to a $104 million contract. Tershawn Wharton is a guy that will be paired with Derek Brown. He is going to wreak havoc. I'm not looking for my defensive tackles to have a lot of tackles or a lot of sacks. I just need you to reestablish the line of scrimmage. If you allow our linebackers to fill the holes, if you're able to draw double teams and making sure that guys, the guards, the centers, even the offensive tackles, if you're making sure that they're not climbing to the second level and blocking the linebackers, we're good. He's going to cause a disruption. He's going to cause a disruption with Derek Brown, and you're going to see a huge change just moving forward. Now, there was another guy. You guys remember this take. You remember it. I said the second best safety that was available in free agency. He was actually the first safety signed in free agency. You guys remember I had Tyler Hufanga. We had Javon Holland also on our free agency draft board. But this was a guy that I cannot be mad at. I watched the tape. He's physical. He understands what you're trying to do in the running game, and he plays ball. 5 tackles for losses, 10 pass breakups, 104 tackles, 2 interceptions, 17 games played. Trayvon Moehrig. We signed him for a 3 year, $61 million contract. He is the guy that is also going to produce. I thought we would go the Javon Holland route. I looked at his contract. Javon Holland got recently signed with the New York Giants, 3 years, $45 million contract. We just signed Trayvon Moehrig, 3 years, $51 million contract. I believe he's the better safety. Just going back and just looking at the tape. I originally had Javon Holland at the top of my board, but just going and watching Trayvon Moehrig, he's going to be a guy that's going to ball for our secondary. So, man, I'm really happy with the additions that we have had. We signed J.C. Horn, made him the top-rated cornerback in NFL history. And then after that, you go and get Trayvon Moehrig. And then after that, you go just fortify your defensive line with Tershawn Wharton. And then that leaves me to what we are going to do next. Free agency is still going on. There are still a couple of key guys that are out there in free agency. I'm going to actually show you some guys that I'm talking about right now. Jerome Baker, Isaiah Simmons. These are just 2 of my top-rated linebackers currently speaking that are available in free agency. And then if you still want to go and dip back into the safety department, you still got a guy in Justin Simmons that is available at the safety position. There are also, we know the NFL draft is coming up. I'm going to get to Will Johnson in a second. The more that I'm looking at these moves, I don't think we're going defensive lineman. I don't. I'm going back to my first take. I think Will Johnson is going to be the first defensive back taken, not named Travis Hunter. I think the Carolina Panthers select him at the 8th spot. There is still time to go out here and get some receivers. There is still time to go out here and get some studs on the defensive side. But just from what the moves that I'm looking at, we just signed Tershawn Wharton. We just signed Trayvon Moehrig. There are other safeties out there. We just signed Mike Jackson. This is giving me the impression that we might stay here on the defensive side. I know that I said last week Mason Graham would be the position that I would go in free age at the 8th spot drafting. But with us signing Tershawn Wharton, it just puts a hole in that. You pair Tershawn Wharton with Derek Brown, Mason Graham is no longer in the equation. So if you just looking at it from that, I think we go Will Johnson, man. Will Johnson is the guy at the 8th spot. Obviously, a lot of things can still change. We're only in the second day of free agency. Guys cannot sign their contracts until Wednesday. Man, I'm all over the place right now. I think right now, Will Johnson, if we don't go Will Johnson, then we're going Ted McMillan. I don't think we're going defensive tackle anymore. We might go Jalen Walker, but it just depends on what we decide to do because, like I said, man, there is still a lot of talent, especially at the linebacker position. You still got Jerome Baker. You still got Isaiah Simmons, guys that can go out here and produce on the second level. Man, this has been a joy and a pleasure so far. Hey, stay tuned. Free agency day 1 is officially in the book. Day 2 is upon us starting today.